What is good, guys? Today, I'm so nervous about this. What is in this box is what's either gonna make today a great day or make today a really depressing day. In this box is the dreaded compression tester, the thing that all car enthusiasts hate, I would say, because it's such a like a butt clenching moment of you like compression testing your car and hoping that everything's gonna be okay. But if we come out on top today, it means more power and response for this thing. And it's something that I have to recommend to all of you. Before you go spending any money on any extra parts for your car, always do a compression test, because the last thing you want to do is spend a whole bunch of money on bolt-ons and then find out the engine that you're bolting it onto is junk. So let's go and do a compression test on the 33.4 Skyline and find out if we can make more power or not. Let's go. There's something a little bit more sucky about doing a compression test on a Skyline, and that is if you have the factory manifold. Give me a second, let me get the bonnet stay up. There we go. If you have the factory manifold on the J-pipe that goes through there, all of that has to come off just so you can get to in here, take the coil packs out, take your spark plugs out, and then you're good to go. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to time lapse really quickly, me taking off the strut brace, taking off the J-pipe and all the hoses in the way. Normally what I do is I actually just sit the J-pipe up over here, but yeah, we still got to disconnect a bunch of stuff as well as disconnect our new catch can that we just installed. So let's go ahead and do that and get to the part where we're hooking up the compression tester and looking at our spark plugs and seeing if everything's healthy there. Let's go. So I've pulled everything down now, and it's relatively easy. I took my time as well because I noticed that when you put new gaskets on and these new rubber seals here, when you do your rocker cover gasket, make sure that you keep the cover off and just kind of nip it down as like the rubber starts to, you know, heat, cool, and contract and whatnot. Because it did get a bit loose in here and it did weep a little bit of oil. So I got a bit of oil in the valley down there. So I cleaned it all out. Also vacuumed out with my little makeshift smaller adapter there. Vacuumed out a bunch of you know, I don't know, like old chunks of pieces and things like that. It was kind of cool. And then all the coil packs look really healthy. These split fires, no splits or cracks in here. This is where you want to look on your coil packs, on your Nissan OEM ones as well as aftermarket ones. If there's any damage here or any clouding or blackness here, that means they're arcing out. So across the board here, all of my coil packs look really healthy, which is great. There's no discoloration there at all and no signs of arcing. Normally the arcing like appears and shows itself as like a big white kind of cloud inside there. Now spark plugs on the other hand, that's another story. All the spark plugs actually look like they're burning really, really well. There's no kind of like black sootiness or anything there, but what I do notice is these are very old spark plugs. I have never changed these since owning the car, and I've never actually even done a compression test on this motor. I don't think so. I don't remember anyways. This one here has got a bit of oil on the outside here, and that's from that gasket leaking. But otherwise, you can see that the burn's been really good. So we're all good there. I am going to probably go to the Nissan store today, just the parts store, and get some new factory OEM NGK plugs for it though. So we will do that. But everything else looks really healthy and good. So now comes a time that I don't like doing. And before we do actually start doing the compression test, unplug your CAS. That will stop fuel and spark from being sent. So that means you're not going to have like fuel spraying into the chamber or anything like that. So there we go, disconnected the CAS. Next thing we want to do is pull out the compression tester and go and do each cylinder one by one. When you're doing a compression test, it's also very important that you keep the throttle fully open. So when I'm going to be inside cranking it, I normally do 3 to 4 rotations over. Keep your foot on the throttle, keep the throttle fully open, and you'll be good. So I'm going to go and put this in the first cylinder, go in, and we'll start doing each cylinder one by one. All right, here we go. Key in the ignition, foot flat to the floor and accelerator to keep the throttle open. And we're going to crank it about 3 to 4 times. So that was about 5. Let's go now see what the compression test results are on cylinder number 1. Ooh, very, very happy. So it's a cold one right now. We're at 150. Very, very, very healthy for an RB. So let's go through and do the other ones now. get them done as quick as we can. Okay, this one looks like it's about the same too. We're just below 150, which is really good. Okay, where are we at? Same, just below 150. Oh man, this is very exciting. On to number 4 now, and before I do the test, I wanted to give you guys actually a quick tip for anyone who's doing this for the first time. Your compression tester doesn't need to be done super tight. It has an O-ring there that you can see on this little adapter there for the bigger spark plug kind of designed heads. And yeah, don't over tighten it. Just a little bit of a turn, you know, once it starts to firm up, the O-ring will seal. That's all you need to do. So let's do number 4 now. If this one checks out okay, we got 2 more to do, which are normally 5 and 6, and 1 and 6 are normally the troublesome ones on RBs. 3, 4, 5. Making sure you keep your foot on the throttle, of course. And wow, this one's looking really good too. 150 so far. Really healthy RB. And once again, same, just below 150. So we're up to number 6 now. Last one, the final cylinder that could make today awesome or make today really depressing. But I'm pretty confident. The car's only done like 80,000 kilometers. It's a pretty healthy motor. So let's do the last one. Here we go, number 6. This is it. Please God be okay. Foot on the throttle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, here we go, moment of truth. Oh, I see the dial, the same as all of them. Damn, this is a really healthy RB. Hell yeah. And I've been thrashing on this thing for 2 years at 1 bar, 1.1 bar of boost, factory head studs, and factory gasket. God, I love this thing. So going over the results again, we pretty much got 150 across the board. I think 2 and 4 were roughly around like 148, 145, but nothing to be worried about. And like I said, this is a cold compression test. So once the motor's warmed up, and if you did a compression test, you'd probably see like 165, 170 across the board. So really healthy RB, which now means I'm even more keen now to bolt on all the extra parts that we're gonna get and get this thing way more responsive with a bit more horsepower. I'm not going for big horsepower. We could go up to 500, but I think that's a really risky option, especially considering this is a Series 2 RB25. Normally, once you go after 500, that's when things start to get a little bit finicky with them. And so I think like keeping it at 450 is probably good. So right now we turned it back down to 400 after we made 460 on the dyno. So once we go through and we're changing head gasket, head studs, we're going for a smaller rear housing, a prototype rear housing that I've asked Mamba to actually make up for me to send out for the turbo. So we're putting that on there, and it's also got a special bigger internal wastegate port that I specifically asked them to design so that it prevents any like exhaust back pressure on high RPM when drifting, which causes things to heat up really quickly and the water to boil in the turbo and things like that. So that will solve any boost creep issues with the smaller housing, because we're going to like a 6.1 kind of 5.7-ish. And that's going to see us spool much quicker. We're also going for cams. We're just going to be doing like a HKS Step 1 or a Tomei Pond cam. I'm not sure which brand we're going with yet. It kind of depends what they get back to me on. Tomei's kind of come to the party, as they have multiple times with all the rest of the Tomei parts on my car. They're really good. But I'm also talking to Oka-chan because he's like the HKS guru when it comes to cams, because all he ever puts in his SRs are HKS, and he swears black and blue that HKS cams are better than Tomei. So I'm kind of like, maybe I should listen to the SR god here, but obviously this is an RB, so that's kind of like my domain. But as well, I think it just depends at this point in time. Like obviously money's a pretty big factor for me. So it just depends who comes to the party, and if they're both the same lift and duration, then I'm kind of just like, shogunai, right? Anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna go and put all this back together. Then we're gonna go to the Nissan parts store, get some new spark plugs, because I just don't like the look of those. I think they've been in there, well, I mean, I've been thrashing on this thing now for over 3 years almost. I've had this car nearly 3 years. Has it been that long? It's been like 2.5 years, but I've been thrashing on it for like 2 years straight. That's a lot. Like, seriously, out of all my friends that have RBs and stuff, I have had pretty much no issues compared to everyone else. But mind you, everyone overbuilds their RBs in Australia and does kind of silly things. Sorry guys, don't hate me, but no, it's just a fact. Everyone overbuilds their cars in Australia and the States, and the result is unreliability. So anyways, I'm gonna, like I said, put all this back together. We'll go to the Nissan parts store, get some new spark plugs, pick it up from there. Before I get started on anything though, time for a quick coffee break and a little ASMR. The Georgia Premium, of course. Boys, turn your headset volumes up and listen to this. Oh yeah! So keen to down this, bottoms up. Oh God, that is heavenly. So made it to the Nissan Parts Center, and actually they don't close till 5:30, so it was really good. But I just had to walk to Family Mart to get cash out because they don't take card. Seriously. That's like my biggest gripe here in Japan is so many places don't take card, and it makes no sense at all. Like Toyota Parts Center, they take card, but no, Nissan does not. What the hell? And all you guys down there in chat that are probably going to be like, yo, that's why Toyota's better. I'm going to slap you. Don't make me slap you. I'll get a big tuna fish and I'll slap you. But yeah, anyways, it's all good. They do have the spark plugs, but they only have 4 of the ones I need, so I can't take them today. Hey, nice Laurel. So it'll all be in first thing tomorrow morning. If I'd gotten here before lunch, they could have gotten them for me by the end of today at 4 p.m. they said. But yeah. Turns out that this actually isn't the biggest one that I thought it was. They do have a lot of stock, but only 4 of the plugs that I need. So yeah, we'll get them tomorrow morning. So here's my pickup slip for the spark plugs. The whole thing cost me about like $90 US for 6 new OEM plugs. Should be sick. And they made up for the no card thing by giving me a cola candy. So, oh yeah, these are really good, by the way, if ever you're in Japan. So it's okay, Nissan, I still love you. You gave me a cola candy. I'm happy. All right, now let's head home. Just got home and I'm making some changes to the suspension settings. Last time I was driving this with Oka-chan on the way home, and he recommended that we change the compression rate on the rear 2 clicks back down soft, and then change the rebound up 2 clicks to hard. One kind of cool thing about these coilovers is you can just get on the ground and stick your arm up in here and adjust the coilovers really easily. See that? The knob's literally right there, so you can just get in there and adjust it. But I like to get my head in there as well and just make sure I'm turning it the right way. So hard, 2 clicks up, 1, 2, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to count how many clicks back down all the way to soft, and then make sure that that's the same, identical on the other side. So I just finished adjusting the left side, and it turned out that that was like 2 clicks out compared to the right. So that kind of, I guess, makes a little bit of sense, because it did feel like one side was kind of harder than the other. But now that I've fixed that, that'll be fine. But I do have to say, like, two-way suspension is really interesting, and I'm loving the learning curve and everything that I'm learning from Oka-chan about how to adjust it and set it up and things like that, because he's literally right. Like, yeah, it is kind of like a bit hard to set up and know the difference and change it and things like that. But once you got your setup perfect, it's the best out of like all the coilovers you can get. So yeah, so far the car just feels amazing, even though like the stiffness settings and stuff like that in the rear are very similar to the previous model ones that I had in here. It just feels so much more consistent and way grippier. So really happy with the results. So it's pretty late at the moment and I really should be in bed, but I'm finishing up editing and getting the video done, and I realized I never filmed an outro yet again. But I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because this box from Mumba arrived, and guess what's inside it? The new rear housing for us to test and see if we get some faster spool and response back. So, with that guys, I hope you're excited. I'm way too excited that that's arrived now. Now I'm thinking of when I go to Nissan tomorrow to get those spark plugs, get an exhaust gasket, some exhaust studs, and take everything off tomorrow and change the turbo. I'm like way too keen to maybe try and do that tomorrow, who knows. But for now, thanks for watching guys. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Definitely leave a comment guys, it really, really helps, as well as smash the like button. And subscribe to SAMMIT live channel, link in the description. See you later guys, jamatane.